Hello everyone, you are listening to GTM podcast, Buddhist Knowledge, episode 15, Blessing to Part 2. From the last episode, we learned the difference between knowledge and the wisdom, and effect of difference in the quality of mind. To continue, we will learn today how to define the wise one so that we can find ourselves opportunity to associate with him. Defining the wise one. We can define the wise one in any one of four ways. In effect, the definition overlap. They differ only emphasis. 1. Define in terms of discretion. A wise one is one who has the discretion to discriminate what behavior is wholesome and what behavior is unwholesome. Specifically, knowing what constitutes good and what constitutes evil. Knowing what constitutes right and what constitutes wrong. Knowing what constitutes merit and what constitutes demerit. Define in terms of behavior. A wise one is someone who habitually thinks, speaks, and acts in a good way. All of the features of a wise man discussed so far have all been his external characteristics. But on closer inspection, it turns out that the wise man has several spiritual features that distinguish him from the ordinary fool. 1. The wise one wants to think habitually in a good way. His habitual way of thinking comprises at minimum non-greed, non-hatred, and right view. Going beyond these, his thoughts are downright wholesome and include loving kindness in place of non-hatred, generosity in place of non-greed, and right view in place of wrong view. 2. The wise one wants to speak habitually in a good way. The wise man is apt to be well spoken in diametric opposition to the fool who has only a babble of insults to decorate his intelligence. There are four ways in which the wise speak good words. 2.1. He avoids telling lies. The wise one will always speak the truth. He is always a man of his word. 2.2. He avoids divisive speech. The wise man, by contrast, will always be the one to mend the difference between others by his words. He will be the one to forge harmony within a group. 2.3. He avoids the use of swear words and harsh words. No matter how angry the wise man is, he will not even consider insulting others. The wise man gives careful thought to the every word that escapes his lips. 2.4. He avoids idle chatter. If the wise man knows what he has to say is without use, he will keep it to himself. He will maintain noble silence. 3. The wise one wants to do only good deeds. The wise one likes to perform physical good deeds with an emphasis on being compassionate, getting down to earning an honest living, and marital fidelity. The fool, by contrast, is continually killing, stealing, and committing adultery. 3. Define in terms of virtues. A wise one wants to demonstrate the following four virtues. 1. Gratitude. He recognizes the depth of gratitude he may have to others. 2. Self-purifying. He purifies himself of all evil. 3. Purity. He purifies others of all evil. 4. Endearing. He makes himself useful to society. 4. Define in terms of the profit sought from life. In Blessing 1, we have already seen that the discretion concerning the nature of the profit in life for a fool is different from that of a wise one. In Buddhism, we have two definitions of profit in life. profit in short term, and profit in the hereafter. Speaking of material profit defined, the Lord Buddha taught 4 ways in which the wise one accrue benefits in the present lifetime. In Thai culture, they are referred as the 4 chambers of the millionaire's heart, or more simply, the way to set yourself up in life. As we have said, sitting idle will do nothing to ensure your comfort in life. Comfort doesn't come unearned. Thus, comfort in one's own age must come from hard work in one's youth, when one is still physically strong enough to be productive in one's work. The wise will, while they are young, store up the means to live comfortably in their own age when they are no longer able to earn. There are 4 virtues for accruing benefit in the present life. These are 1. Diligent acquisition. Not being lazy to go out and earn a living. Wise is the man who applies himself to the task in hand, not sitting around all day and waiting for money to appear magically. 2. Stewardship means both saving and protecting what you have earned. 3. Associating with good friends means the same as associating with the wise. That is the title of this blessing. And to avoid associating with the evil, especially the sort that are always trying to persuade you to go and gamble or hang around at night where you should not be. 4. Appropriating spending. This means being thrifty in spending your earning. Anyone who has already expended so much effort in earning day wage should get full benefit from their own earnings without being extravagant and also without being so stingy they don't allow themselves to use their money for any material comfort. Speaking of spiritual profit defined, the wise man recognized that he cannot live by bread alone and that for all the material wealth he might earn, it cannot buy him spiritual fulfillment. Thus, a second important form of profit in life is spiritual profit, better known as profit in the life for the hereafter. This again consists of 4 virtues to be cultivated during one's lifetime. 1. Faith or confidence means faith that doing good deeds will lead to good outcomes for the doer, and that doing evil will lead to bad retribution and giving rise to the commitment to perform maximum of good deeds throughout one's life. Faith is the first step up on the road to striving to do so many good deeds. Sometimes, the clarity of people's minds is insufficient for their mind to be faithful continuously. They may be faithful when they wake up, but later on in the morning the inspiration fades away. The Lord Buddha referred to such a faith as turtle head faith, because sometimes the faith shows itself like the head of a turtle, but just as often it will disappear out of sight inside its shell. This is not the nature of the faith of a wise man whose faith is steadfast and commitment continuous. Turtle head faith is not so hard to find. Like the man who takes the precept in the morning, not killing any living being, but as soon as the tiniest mosquitoes try to bite him, he is slapping it as if his good intentions are forgotten. But the mosquito disposed of, he thinks, "Oh, I'm taking the precept today. All you mosquitoes had better get out of my way before I change my mind." Such turtle-head faith is no use to a wise man. With a mind that is crystal clear, a promise even to oneself is a promise to be kept. 2. The precepts. You must keep the minimum of 5 precepts as baseline of one's virtue because the precept measure the degree in which you are a person as opposed to being a savage. Anytime you want to find out to what extent you are human, you can use the 5 precepts as your benchmark. If all 5 of the precepts has been perfectly kept, you can conclude that you are 100% that day. If only 4 of your precepts remain intact, you can conclude that you are only 80% human. If only 3 remain, you are only 60% human. Your fangs are beginning to show. If only 2 remain, you are only 40% human. Your fangs are longer and traces of tail are visible. If only 1 remains, you are only 20% human, and the remainder of you is 80% savage. If none of your precepts remain intact, nothing human remains about you. Try swapping yourself for a dog in one's house, but no one will accept the trade-in. The dog is worth more than you are. You can fairly say that keeping the 5 precepts is thing that close the door of hell, because 5 precepts are the only thing that underpin our status in the human realm. Thus for the wise man, there is no doubt as to maintaining the 5 precepts and his humanness for the whole time throughout his life. 3. Generosity. That we are still alive and well today on the long path since our birth is only because we have relied upon the generosity of others along the way. If on the day we were born, our mother had refused us her milk, our first day of our life would have been our last. If all throughout our childhood, our mother, father, and relatives had refused us in their care and attention, where would we be today? The fact that we have managed to learn to read and write and master knowledge of the world is only because our teachers had given their time and energy to educate us all throughout school days. Whenever we have made mistakes in our childhood and maybe only been punished for it and then forgotten rather than being put to death for our errors, it's because others have been prepared to forgive us our trespass. When you grow up and marry again, you can only get by as a result of the time and energy your spouse gives to support you, sharing mutual earnings. Without such giving, the marriage would certainly be on the rock within the space of 7 days. Ultimately, even when you are listening to this podcast, all originate from the charity of others, and that there is monks with the time and energy and effort to give you the knowledge is another sort of giving. Thus, in addition to faith and keeping the precept, it is necessary to be generous too, if you are to number among the wise. 4. Wisdom. To be specific, anyone who is diligent in studying or listening to our podcast about the teaching of the Lord Buddha will certainly attain wisdom, the mark of a wise man. Anyone who lies around in bed all day has no chance of acquiring wisdom. For the wise man, simply developing the 4 chambers of the millionaire's heart is not enough. He must seek out wisdom too. When it comes to a holiday, instead of lying around looking at the tablets or watching Netflix, he is already seeking out Zoom conference with the teaching monk. Such as this is what we call seeking out wisdom. The fool is one whose understanding of profit in life confronts neither the material nor spiritual profit in life. Thus we can say that the wise man is one who understands and works toward profit both in this lifetime and the hereafter. In example, both material and spiritual profit in life. Defined in terms of quality of mind. The wise man is one whose mind is habitually pure. A person could be completely unqualified. He could even be completely illiterate. But if his mind is habitually pure, he is a wise man. The reason for this is that just the fact that the mind is pure had a snowball effect because it set his standard of judgment and discretion, and this alone will ensure that wisdom is invested in everything he does, whether it may be thought, speech, or action. So that's everyone. This is how the wise man is defined. If you ever have chance to encountering one, do not let your chance pass away. Try to be his friend, be in his companion, so you too yourself can also learn from him and become wise just like he did. We will continue again in our next episode, how to recognize the wise one. So stay tuned. See you again in next podcast.